So this is Legaci Allong. She is the natural birth queen.
Yeah.
So tell me about like your journey and your evolution into being the natural birth queen and having all of these amazing videos that women go to on YouTube. How did it all get started?
So, well, first of all, I love your energy. So it started way, way back. It was about 4 years ago. And I find it through discovering my purpose and fulfilling my purpose through this journey. I gave birth to all of them naturally at home. And so I was obviously in the whole unmedicated home birth field. And through that process of giving birth at home with the kids, I found my purpose. And so God was talking to me and he was like, birth is your lane. And I was just like, no. At first, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. It's going to be tough. Like, can you give me something else to do? But eventually I was like, okay, I'll listen to my purpose. And so I went down that journey. And I still remember when I had like 12 YouTube subscribers, when I had no clients. And I still remember when I had my first client, and when I got my first client, I was jumping up and I was so excited. And she gave birth. I cried. Like, I was so emotional because it was like full circle moment in realizing that I was happy for them, of course, so happy that everything went smoothly for her, happy for their family. And I believed in them when they lost faith in themselves. And it affirmed my purpose to God because he showed me my purpose. I listened, and it was proof that I was able to fulfill in my purpose. So.
So you were a doula. You gave birth to your first child. Then did you become a doula after that?
I became a doula after my third. So after my third birth. So I used to post videos on YouTube for free for like 3 years. It was all about just showing other moms, like, I always wanted to have different ethnicities, all different types of women, so that they can see themselves in these births and know that if she can do it, then they could do it too. So during that time, I was just posting videos. And then after my third birth, that's when I became a certified doula. And that's when I started 3 years later. That's when I started doing clients.
Wow. Was your first video the birth of your first son?
No.
Oh, no? Because that got a lot of views. That got the most views on your channel.
Yeah.
1.8 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The one that has the most views is actually my third birth. Yes. And I used to have another channel where I posted my second birth, but that channel was actually a family channel. So when I started off, I was actually doing family vlogs.
Okay.
And then I switched. Once I became like into birth and became a doula, that's when I switched into Legaci Birth, and I created a whole new channel for Legaci Birth.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah. So, well, one of the main video that you have on your channel, you're going through your birth process and the course you teach.
Yes.
And you're totally, you're dancing and I definitely was not like that with Bjorn at home, but it was just amazing to watch you and see yourself walk yourself through it, with your little boys and your husband. It was really, really cute. And I got teary when you're in the tub and your son just hugged you around your head. And I thought it was just so sweet. So tell me about like bringing children into the space, because I feel like that could be a question that sometimes comes up, like, oh my God, I don't know if I want my children to watch. Like, tell me your thoughts.
Right. That's a good point. And I have actually never told this story before, but I was just thinking about it the other day. So I guess I'll say it now. Basically, when I was a child, my mom, she was about to have my sister. And I was very involved in the pregnancy. I was so excited. I was always writing names about her. I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. And one day they like said, okay, you're going to your grandparents' house. And I went there and I just felt so worried. I was like, what is going on? And I was scared, but I just wanted to know if my mom was going to be okay. And I think about a day or two later, they ended up bringing me to the hospital and they were like, she's here. Here's your baby sister. And yeah, I was excited that I was like, okay, yes, that's my baby sister. And now it all makes sense why my mom was gone and I didn't know where she went. But I did feel slightly robbed of the whole experience. And I felt like I wasn't allowed to be a part of that life experience. And uh, and I think that kind of played a role in me deciding that I wanted my kids to be a part of the birth because they're so involved in the pregnancy. Like they see the cakes, they go to the little midwife appointments or the gender reveal. Like it's so, even my kids, like they did the pregnancy test with me. So it's like everything to them. And to think that like right when it gets to the end, I'm like, no, like this is not for you. This is only for me. It just feels like I would be robbing them of that experience. And I completely understand for some situations where it could be traumatic, like a hospital setting. But for my birth, like it's like a birthday party. So it's not scary for them at all. And so I'm able to, one, bring them a part of that experience, but also teach them that they can see from their own mom and not learn from the outside world that birth is traumatic, that they can see, no, like my mommy gave birth at home and it was beautiful, it was calm, and everything will be okay. So
I think it's so important for children to see it. It's a family birth. It's called a family birth for a reason.
Great.
Yeah.
And you gave birth unassisted as well, right?
Yeah. Planned unassisted. Yeah, there was no way I would have wanted it. I can't imagine any other way. It just went so perfect. Yeah, it was really magical. I mean, I had my in-laws and my mom ask, like, you sure you don't want me to be there? And I was like, no, I think I would have acted differently. I wouldn't be able to act freely and walk buck naked around my house, like. So yeah. What is your background or ethnicity?
Yes. So, of course, I'm Canadian. My mom and my dad are Canadian, but my background, like their parents are Caribbean. So, Trinidad,
Oh,
Barbados. Yeah.
okay. Do you know, like, what's the birth culture like? Like, is your grandma from Trinidad and Barbados, or is it your great grandmother from there?
It would be my grandma. So, my
Okay.
grandparents are from the Caribbean. The birth culture, I would say, is probably similar to where are you from?
My parents are from Thailand, and then I'm from LA, born
Okay.
and raised. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So it's similar to US, I would say, in Canada, where um, it can go either way. It's like you can trust the medical system. You can trust that things are going to be okay. It can either be okay or it can end up in a C-section or a traumatic birth experience. So very, very similar to that.
Yeah. And so, with you having 4 unassisted home births, your mom, did she have you, and I mean, your sister was at the hospital. Were you born at the hospital too? Like, what did you know anyone personally that had a home birth, whether with a midwife or unassisted?
Right. So my mom, she had all four natural, no medication, but they were all in a hospital birth. And so I was been the first in my family to have a home birth and definitely the first to have an unassisted birth. But yeah, there was nobody to look to that was like, oh yeah, she had an unassisted birth when I did it. So a lot of people were like shocked. But that was the point. Like when I give birth, I'm giving birth also for my sisters, for my children, for my grandchildren, so that they can learn from my experience and know that they can do it too. And even if they don't want to give birth like that, that they don't see it as like a traumatic birth experience.
So
Yes,
you
yes.
just have one younger sister?
I have one younger sister and I have one half sister. And I don't have a daughter either. So so hopefully somebody learned something.
Absolutely. So all of those birth videos that's on your YouTube channel, they're your clients that you've helped?
So some are. So when I started off, I would reach out to people. And at first, it was like non-existent to see unassisted births on YouTube like 4 years ago. So, I mean, you can see them on Instagram, but on YouTube, it was like, what? There was one video where like there was mom giving birth in nature and she was like completely naked and it said like 12 years ago. So that was like the only one. At first, it was really hard to find videos. But now that over the years, like I think that I do have a lot to do with like setting that trend or adding to that and making moms feel comfortable with sharing it because there could have been, but they probably felt scared to share something like that. So it's really nice to see births now. Like I see them way more often now on YouTube. But yeah, in the beginning, I used to just reach out and I would ask if they wanted to be featured on the account, and they would say yes. And now, like when I reach out, people are like, they're like, I watched your videos. Or like some of them will say like, you helped me with my other birth or stuff like that. So it's really such a humbling and beautiful experience now. Like, but some moms reach out to me, some are clients, and some moms, like if it's a really amazing birth that pops up on my screen, I will reach out. Yeah.
That's so cool. You said, I am the Michael Jordan of giving birth. I love that. Can you share with me, like, briefly the differences in all of your births
Mm,
and
yeah.
what that was like for you?
Yeah, I like that you asked that because going from saying Michael Jordan from giving birth, was it always that way, or was it a progression? Because like birth for me now is easy, but at the beginning it was hard. But once I built up the skills and the certain habits, now I've like mastered it, so it's easy for me now. For my first birth experience, I was a teen mom for my first birth. And so it was a bit tough because like I wanted to do it at home and I wanted to also have a lotus birth. I know you're familiar with lotus birth as well. You had a lotus birth?
I did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I totally did. Loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Yes. Awesome. Um, so yeah, they were like looking at me like I was crazy. And so having that stigma of people seeing things in a certain way and also being young was a little bit challenging in the beginning. But I had to stay firm and hold my ground and learn how to tell people what I'm doing and make sure that I'm saying it in a way where they know that I'm educated and that I'm informed and I'm not just like first time mom doesn't know anything and just saw some things online that she wants to do. So once I got through that, I gave birth. I ended up having a successful home birth with a midwife, and I had a successful lotus birth. And after that experience, I was basically able to build up a track record. So I was like, okay, like, look, I did this. So my second birth, they didn't challenge me as much. But with my second birth, that's how I knew that I wanted to have an unassisted birth, because I was always finding myself always asking for as little intervention as possible. I remember I wrote my birth plan and I was like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And they were like, so basically you just want us to stand there and do nothing? And I'm like, basically. And so that birth is on YouTube as well. And that one I was very, very calm as well. It was an OP baby. So it was harder to push baby out, but I obviously make it look so effortless. And then third was the one where I was wearing the birth queen shirt, the white one like that. And that was my first unassisted birth. And that is when I was really able to feel birth in a pleasurable way. I was able to understand oxytocin, how it's a feel-good hormone that's released from the body and it makes your contractions feel good. And so that one I was able to enjoy my labor. And then my fourth one, that was the legendary birth with my fourth baby. That's when I would say I mastered the skill of giving birth. And I think you've probably seen yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the, someone was like, well, what's the secret? What is it? Is it leaning into it? Is it letting go?
It's a few things. I wouldn't say it's one specific thing. A lot of it is, so a lot of people think that birth is painful, but birth is not really designed to be painful. Birth is technically designed to feel good, because if oxytocin is a feel-good hormone that's released during cuddling, intimacy, breastfeeding, if a feel-good hormone is released during our contractions, then, and it plays a primary role in our contractions, then God or nature, or however anybody wants to say it, has designed the process to feel good. And if we think of how we make our babies, when we make our babies, it's a pleasurable experience, right? When we're with our husbands or our partners.
Yeah.
So I always think of it as the way in is the way out. So if it's a pleasurable experience to create a baby, it should be a pleasurable experience to birth a baby. So I allow myself to open up the same way that I would do in intimacy to allow a pleasurable experience to be possible. And then I reverse the psychology of pain by saying it feels good. So this feels so good, because the words that we say can change how we feel. If we're like, oh my God, not another one, then that's how our body's going to react. But when we say the word yes, we actually send endorphins to our body, and we tell our body that we're in a feel good state. And so I'm always just like, yes, this feels so good. I love oxytocin and stuff like that.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you look like you want to give birth again after that.
Yes. Yeah, I do. I can't wait. I can't wait. In 2 more years, I'll be getting pregnant. But yeah, I can't wait. Your husband, what were his thoughts, even with you wanting to have a home birth, at with your first birth, and then having it unassisted, because it's so important with where our partner, the role that they play.
Right. It's very, very true. And oftentimes, that's one of the reasons why a mom decides not to have an unassisted birth, because she feels like her partner isn't on board. And it's very common for partners not to be on board, because this is just like it's new to us, it's also new to them. And if you ask a partner, like, I'll ask you now, like, your partner, was he born in a hospital?
Yes.
So usually ask the moms that question, they're like, yes. So his vision of birth might actually still be in that medical way, just like almost majority of the world, because birth has become so medical. And so even though we're going through evolving and unlearning and relearning, they are also doing the same thing. So when you send the proposal, like when I sent the proposal to my husband, like, oh, I want to have an unassisted birth, like just me on my own, he was going through all those things in his mind, fears, just like how we have fears, like throughout our pregnancy. And he was thinking, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to support you if something doesn't go right? Right. And so with my third birth, he challenged me surprisingly, which is, it's mind blowing now, because he's so supportive now. But my third birth, I wrote him a letter. I was like, I want to give birth I want my baby to be born in the hands of my own. And he was like, can we just do it like how we did it before with a midwife? And I had to, regardless of what his decisions were, I still tried my best to like negotiate. But at the end of the day, if I knew that he wasn't fully on board, I still did it, because I realized that during postpartum, he's not going to be sitting on the bed sad, crying because he didn't get to have the birth that he wanted, or his birth was intervened by a midwife. It doesn't matter to him as much as it matters to me. And at that time, I didn't even know if I was going to have baby number 4. So I was like, you never know. Like, if this is my last birth, I want to give birth the way that I want to give birth. And then I knew that I could. And so I ended up giving birth. And once he seen me do it, he was like, oh my goodness. And through that experience, he was able to see what I was capable of. And he was like, I'm not going to challenge you again. And so for our 4th birth, no, nothing, not a peep from his mouth. He was just like, you're going to do what? Okay. We're going to do it. So we're going to move to the US. We're going to have the baby in Florida. We don't know nobody. We have no family members. And you're just going to do it on your own. I'm like, yep. He's like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Literally night and day. So I always tell people, like, they don't know. Everyone's going to challenge you because they haven't seen you do it yet. They only seen what you usually do. So if you've had a C-section, they only see you as your C-section birth. If you had, if you're a first-time mom, they see you as you never had birth before. So what do you know? And so you have to show them what you're capable of for them to be able to feel more confident in your capability. Yes.
Yeah, I feel so good for the next time around,
Yeah.
to like, I already did it. You can't say anything. Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
for you, how was it for you? Because it was your first baby.
Yeah. You mean the reactions I got, or what do you mean?
Yeah, from your partner.
Oh, I'm grateful that, I mean, we were both born in hospitals, but he was totally on board. Like, we were on the same page in that way and how we want to bring our child into the world and raise our kids. So I was really grateful for that. And I think, I mean, it was meant somehow in the ethers when we met, because without him, I would have had zero support in
Wow.
my life.
Wow.
So why give me, yeah, I don't think God wanted to give me one more thing to challenge during this time,
That's
So
beautiful. So that was like his gift to you.
yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
there are few case scenarios where you'll have the partner, like some of my clients, the partner is the one who wants it more than the mom. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah, I've had a few clients where the husband was like, I want this, I believe that we can do this. This is the ancestral way. And we did it like before in the hospital, but I know you can do it. I know your body, like telling his wife, I know your body, I know you can do this. And she's like, he's going down this holistic path and I just want to support him. Like sometimes you get those guys that are on board, or even like the main person on board, which is super cool.
Yes, we need more of that, because a lot of the times the father just stands, by, I mean, even in a hospital setting, they're not involved.
Right.
Yeah, they're shooed away. And I think the fathers really need to be involved and protect the woman and the family.
Mm-hmm.
What's the number one fear or concern you get from women who are interested in a home birth?
Home birth or unassisted birth?
Well, I guess both.
Both. So there's different ones for each. I would say. For home birth, the main thing is pain. Like that's the number one thing I usually hear is like, I don't know if I'll be able to handle the pain. And so I always tell them, like what I told you earlier, that birth can be a pleasurable experience, and like reversing the psychology of pain and mastering that, so that pain is like, you shouldn't even be saying the word pain, because once you start saying that word, you're really already like setting up a bad path for yourself. But there's also a lot of people who are like, a pleasurable or a painless birth isn't necessarily possible. And if you have that mindset too, then you're also already canceling yourself out, because you have to have an open mind. A lot of the clients who I've had who were able to have a pleasurable birth, when I say pleasurable birth, they believe it. Like they believe it's possible for them. Those are the ones who are able to do it. A lot of people go through like thinking a home birth is dangerous, but if you're low risk, you do the correct work before, mindset, preparation, then it can be a safe experience, no different than a hospital. And honestly, it leads to less intervention anyways.
Mm-hmm. So do you do group coaching and one-on-one?
I do, yeah, both.
Okay. And
Mhm.
how long do you cover, how long are your group courses or group coaching?
So it depends. Like I usually do any moms that are in first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. So they just join at different times, and then they give birth in the program with me virtually. And then after the birth, I'm still with them through postpartum as well. And some clients will be through postpartum, like just the first 6 weeks. And some clients, after they give birth, we go right into fitness and getting back our bodies back.
So I had a virtual, my mentor gave me her phone number because at that time I was in the Radical Birth Keeper school,
Mhm.
and she was there to reassure me virtually. Some women are like, no, I need someone here with me, but it's like, I feel like it's not necessary. Like virtual is just as
Mm,
amazing and helpful.
yes. So that's a really good point because it's so new, right? A lot of people are like, what? But what a lot of people don't realize is having somebody virtually can actually be almost, I wouldn't say more beneficial because then I would be, the other people who are in person would probably feel like, hey, no. It can be so, so, so personal. It's almost like being on FaceTime with your mom, and it feels like they're right there with you. Like I've had clients who they'll put their phone down by their private parts. You see their private parts by their butt, mucus plug. If there's like blood dripping, is that okay? They'll show you the blood that's from the placenta. Is that normal? So it literally feels like it's right there with you, and you're there through the entire process. So it becomes like a sister, almost like a family member. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think most women just want reassurance.
Mhm.
That's all they really need. That's all I really needed.
Mhm.
Yeah, not necessarily someone there. So yeah, I think it's great. I mean, this day and age and we live in, I think we can reach more women who
Yeah.
want to give birth at home.
Yes. And
Yeah.
birth doesn't always, sometimes being alone scares some moms. And a lot of people think that unassisted birth has to be alone, but it doesn't necessarily have to be alone. Like you can have a doula present still. Like you can have a doula there. That's still considered an unassisted birth. You can have family members. You can have your partner. So you don't have to be alone. Like you can still feel supported and loved throughout the process if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was listening to some podcasts and they always do like a before, talking to them during pregnancy and then like how they want to have their birth. And a lot of them say, I want to have a home birth. And most of the time I hear that it's with licensed midwives, and then it's the after and they're like, oh, I transferred. Why do you think low risk women, I mean, women in general, maybe, why do you think they end up transferring?
So it could be for a lot of different reasons. Some of them are legit reasons, but some of them aren't. And I think that it has a lot to do with training, values, and beliefs. So a lot of the time, moms do a lot of mindset work. They prepare, they get ready for the birthing experience, but not a lot of midwives freshen up and do mindset work as well. And it's actually very important because everyone goes through different emotions during the birthing process, not just the mom. So even when a midwife is there, she is also having to go through different fears and limiting beliefs in her mind that she has to overcome. And so if she sees something that happens, if she believes that it's a hiccup that can only be solved with medical attention, then she's going to go down that route. But if she doesn't have the knowledge to know like different alternatives to to assess the situation, then that's why sometimes she because of that fear of not knowing what to do, she will just transfer it to a hospital.
Yeah, I feel that it's so unfortunate, especially if there really is no true emergency. I think a lot of women just need that support saying, no, we're gonna stay. You're doing fine, you're doing great. You're just tired. You can do it.
Yes, it's so true. Because a lot of the times it's just a different variation of birth. Just because it looks a bit different doesn't mean that. So, for example, breech birth. Some people consider breech birth that needs medical attention. Some people would say that you have to get a C-section for a breech birth. So if a midwife believes that, if that's her values and her beliefs, then if that were to come up, even if for a second she thinks that, then she's going to transfer. But if you have a midwife or a doula who believes that breech birth is just a different variation of birth, baby will come out just like it comes out the other way, but one contraction at a time, feet will come out, legs will come out, bum will come out, rest of the body will come out, then she will go through the process with her and support her through that journey. So it really depends on the midwife's training, her values, her beliefs. And it's important for moms to really know who you're bringing into your space and what values and beliefs that they have. And just because they say that this is not normal or going past 42 weeks is not normal, it doesn't mean that that has to be your belief. So it's important, like, even though you have a midwife or a doula, you know their beliefs, but you also have to know your beliefs so that when certain things come up, you can stand your ground.
Yes, being informed. Yes, it's so important. So can you share about your new projects? I see that you have like a doula wealth coaching program.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So that one is for doulas, aspiring doulas and birth workers, going full time so that they can turn their business into their purpose into an actual business. A lot of moms, like me, it's their purpose. Just like you, how you have your platform, it's something that you feel like you're walking in your purpose, something so special to you. And just to be able to help moms be able to take that full time and actually be profitable, like what I've done is basically what I help other people do.
Did you have mentors as well to help you get into this whole business aspect of it?
Yeah, so I also do mentorship as well. And it's important because I like to teach, but I also love to be a student as well. I always say to my kids, like, the person who says they know it all, they're actually the beginners. They actually don't know as much as you think they do. But the person who's constantly learning, constantly wants to be better, those are the people who will one day become the masters, because there's no ceiling to how much you can learn. And like, I don't like to not know stuff. So I love having mentors. I love investing in mentorship. And yeah.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, I look at athletes, they don't get to the top on their own. They have
Right.
they
That's
have coaches.
right.
You coined the term MBP, which is media's birth perception.
Yes. When I came up with that term, I had no idea that everyone was going to love it so much. Like, every time someone talks to me, they're like, yes, MBP, media's birth perception. I'm like, oh, it really, really stuck. But basically, like, since I was a little girl, I've been unknowingly learning to perceive birth as fearful. Whether it was in a movie, whether it was in a TV show, it was always the mom screaming in the hospital and everything turning out bad. And there was always fear surrounding it. I wanted to switch that, because whether you know it or not, we all consume that information, like through all the movies that we've seen. And so I've decided to get rid of MBP, which is media's birth perception, by replacing it with positive birth stories, like the ones that like you see on my YouTube channel, and being able to see moms giving birth in a positive way, in a way that's not scary or not fearful, help to empower me. Because when I was having my second birth, I watched birth videos all the time because birth videos are like medicine. It shows people like, oh, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was so important to me, because I realized that like when I want, you can hear all the stories from your grandparents saying it's scary, it's scary, it's scary, it's scary, and it's bad, bad, bad. But then you go on YouTube and you watch this and you're like, this doesn't look scary. This actually looks quite fun. And so just being a part of that and being able to get rid of that is important. And it helps to get rid of the fear of birth too. And I also think it's just like, it's entertainment, right? It's more, they find it more entertaining to see a woman like screaming and everything ending up bad versus a mom who's like tranquil and very, very, very peaceful. But it's funny because I'm noticing now there's a switch. So now when you see like a thumbnail of a mom who's like tranquil and peaceful, you're like, ooh, what's that juicy thing right there?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Can you tell me how you prepare, or what you tell your clients how to prepare for postpartum? Like, tell me about yours.
So unassisted birth clients are a little bit different than birth center hospital birth clients. Those clients are a little bit different. Sometimes they're at the hospital for longer. They usually, sadly enough, but usually clients who have home birth with midwives or birth centers, they actually have more help. The unassisted clients are usually like more by themselves, but sometimes they have their parents there. But usually for an unassisted birth, the process is very, very in depth because they're doing it on their own. So we monitor obviously the bleeding and everything like that, making sure she's having her bowel movements again, urine again, babies does first meconium, weighing baby. If it's a lotus birth baby, we still track every single day until the cord falls off and stuff like that. And majority of my clients do a lotus birth. And then usually with our clients, I usually have them like for the first 2 weeks, try to keep everything super, super minimal as much. I know it's tough because we want to be like superwoman and we want to get back to, yep, you're nodding your head because you know it's right. Like it's so hard to not do things because it's like, who's going to do it?
Yep. Yep.
But honestly, like a wheelie chair, it's funny, but I have my clients have a wheelie chair in the kitchen.
Wait, what's a wheel? Like a wheelchair?
Like a computer chair with wheels on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that when they're like in the kitchen, they're not standing, because when you stand, you bleed more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they wheel around on the wheelie chair in the kitchen, and then yeah, that's what works for me. And fruit, of course, freezer meals, of course. I usually do like all freezer meals. I stack them up. They don't usually last as long as I hope they do, especially with like, I have the 4 boys and they see freezer meals and they're just like, it's a party. And then my husband's always like, don't worry, I'm going to cook for the first week. I'm like, I give you 3 days. By the 3rd day, he's like, you need a little bit of help.
What's your vision for the future? How do you want Legaci Birth to look? Like, do you have a long-term vision?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Yeah, I have a lot of big goals. Um, it's so nerve-wracking saying your goals out there, right? I do want Legaci Birth to be like a massive platform. I do want to reach as many women as possible. My main mission, of course, the unassisted birth, in the United States, 32% of births are done by C-section and 17% of them are unnecessary. So my major goal is to bring that percentage down. There's some countries that are at like 9%, which would be amazing. I think that to achieve a goal like that, we would really have to come together, because one person is powerful, but a group of women, a tribe, will make the movement so much bigger. And then 25% of women is estimated to have a traumatic birth. So out of 10 women, 2 to 3 of them would have a traumatic birth experience. So that's something that to me, that's the main goal. That's walking in purpose, like being able to change that.
I love that. I love that. And so before we go off, like, can you share with women who are interested in wanting to, get coaching from you? Tell me what you offer.
So for the pregnancy program, it's pretty cool because it's if you're in your first, second, or third trimester, or you're planning a vaginal birth, a natural birth, a home birth, VBACs, unassisted birth, or birth center birth, then that program would be for them. And what's cool is I'm so confident in my process that when you give birth in my program, like if your birth doesn't go as planned, then I work with them for free. So there's no risk to them. Like my goal is to serve and provide results. And if I don't do that, then to me, I feel like I didn't really deserve that client really. So that's with the pregnancy program. And then for the coaching program, it's for doulas and aspiring doulas and birth workers. So I'll help them go full time within 90 days. And if they aren't able to go full time in 90 days, then I work with them for free for the entire year until they do. Just cool with the doula program is because a lot of doulas are still in person, and it's okay to be in person. You can still do in person too, but technology changes everything. So like you can go from having just like one client to many clients all around the world. So you're able to have a bigger impact and serve in a bigger way.
Oh, thank you so much, Legaci, for taking the time out of your busy day to talk with me. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you for reaching out, Emily, and your attention to detail is like phenomenal. I love it. You're really good at this, so you should definitely keep going.
Oh.
And just to have an unassisted birth for your first baby, that's so phenomenal. Like that being your first time and being able to like eliminate all your fears and step into your power for your first time. If that's the platform that you're standing on, who knows what your other births or your future is going to be. So thank you. And I'm really, really happy to have met you.